Hey everyone, I need to tell you about my friends over at Toner. I get asked all the time about how I started my show many years ago, and it wasn't as hard as you think, and that's because of the help I received from Toner. The Toner TC30 microphone is simple to use. Plug the USB into your laptop or PC, and it's time to record. The best part, it's only $42.99. Not only that, the quality is absolutely tremendous. There's a narrative around the community that you need a super expensive setup to get started, and it's not true. The Toner TC30 is so impressive and reasonably priced. It's the perfect microphone to get your voice heard. Cardioid patterns, clear sound, and easy to plug and play. No mixers or soundboards needed. So listen to me right now. Go down into the description of this video and click the Amazon link below. The TC30 microphone, it's time to get you rolling into the podcast world. Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Bros. Before we talk about that great victory, Joel Embiid, sensational. 43 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals, playing on both ends. How many points in the third quarter? He just dominated, and there was some fear about the fact that he had a couple slow games the night before. Yeah, he's human. A couple games prior to this, he scored in the 20s. He's a human being. Just breathe. Joel Embiid will be just fine. And you saw that he exposed the Chicago Bulls, who are fake. They're just a regular season team. DeMar DeRozan's not an actual superstar that wins championships, okay? That's not who they are. They're in the same category as the Cleveland Cavaliers. There are sometimes teams throughout regular season games that could win, but they're not legit, and you could just see the difference in style of play and legitimacy when you witness James Harden's execution and the way that he's able to run an offense. This was an okay game from James Harden. He wasn't able to score the rock the way that you would love to, but when he did it in a very professional way. But it's about the way the offense runs. Think about what we witnessed in Miami, and then think about what we just saw at the Wells Fargo Center against Chicago. And I can make the argument that your third game in your fourth night is more toxic and a little bit more involved with your physical play and your mental play too than the second half of a back-to-back. That's a lot of tough basketball, and they just executed the way they needed to, and that end of the first quarter, I think, really stood out to me. But before we start dissecting a little bit heavier and taking your phone calls, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. If you're looking to buy tickets Thursday night, Ben Simmons sitting on the edge of the bench, maybe not, but you can utilize the promo code BRODES at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your purchase, which is basically free parking. I'm giving that to you. Promo code BRODES, SeatGeek's checkout page, and then lastly, TikTok at BRODES Media. Make sure you check out what we're doing over there on TikTok. We're having a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, this was the Joel Embiid show tonight, of course, and I love the fact that this team put him in great positions to have that success. Now, Joel's Joel. Let's not take that out of context. But I thought when you think about the help, we've been pretty much arguing as of late about getting him the basketball. And, you know, it's not as easy as it should be. And he has to work a little bit harder than over a 48-minute span. Working that extra time each possession will then end up with a full body of, okay, that's a lot. It's a lot more than I need to do. Let's help out the big fella. Let's help out this superstar. I think as a team, they did a good job at just allowing Joel Embiid to get to certain areas on the floor and letting him go to work. There was one miscommunication that stood out to me the most because I'm not accustomed to this yet, and that's the behind the back pass that James Harden tried to Joel. A little behind the back pass, it resulted in a turnover. But let's be realistic. You throw a new primary point guard on the floor, and we really haven't seen that yet to this point. So it's pretty crazy. It took that long for it to be that eye-popping to me. But the end of the first quarter, I thought was really important to the Sixers pretty much going in cruise control and just taking this victory, no doubt. Joel Embiid goes on a bit of a personal run, which was sensational. But then you had James Harden Harden with a step back. Yeah, George Niang with a couple threes. Danny Green got a three after a DeAndre Jordan offensive board. And speaking of offensive boards, there were some miserable box out attempts by the Sixers, specifically Tobias Harrison. He was definitely putrid, no doubt about it. Once again, okay, he had the slam, but the big picture is Tobias Harris continues to struggle. Now, Doc Rivers keeps bringing up the fact that he believes by the end of this, these open looks will eventually fall. I understand what he's saying, and I tend to believe that that's a fair way to assess the situation. But here's what does kind of blow my mind a bit about the Tobias Harris experience. This team has not lost yet with James Harden in the lineup. And if you look at the amount of points that they are scoring as a unit when he is on the floor, it is ridiculously good. They put up 130, 125. They blow teams out by putting up an obnoxious amount of points. And then afterwards, the amount of tweets that I have in my mentions about Tobias, this guy sucks, this guy's awful. This team's not losing. The team is literally not losing and putting up 125 points, putting up an absurd amount of points. And your takeaway after the game is screw Tobias Harris. I think it's fair to bring it up in conversation and say it needs to be better. He can't be shooting this poorly, and this is not what we need from the three-point line from him. But even with him being this dreadful, even with him being this embarrassing, the team is winning all these basketball games, and Tyrese Maxey's getting incorporated into the offense, and even Matisse Thybulle's getting incorporated into the offense. And here's what I'll say about Matisse. I've mentioned this a billion times now about the flaws of everybody else surrounding the big man and James Harden. Your superstar talent can make up for those issues as long as they play their game. And it's clear the threat of James Harden being able to do as much as he possibly can on that floor has opened up the ability for Matisse Thybulle to get these cuts, to get to the basket. And the passes are magnificent too, right on the money, in rhythm, as Matisse Thybulle's doing his thing. Now, there are times where he could do even more. For example, Matisse Thybulle gets to the rim, misses a layup, should have been an easy and one, instead goes to the line, hits one of two. So 3 points ends up turning into 1 point. And there are baskets that I feel he could finish through contact, even though he got to the line. But he hit a big wide open three. Not that I'm a big time believer in this full body of work as a whole. I still have my major concerns, but my point is when James Harden's out there, Matisse Thybulle becomes such a different player, and that's because your superstar talent rises to the occasion and then puts the stress off of a Thybulle. You saw Thybulle last game compared to this game. It's a totally different beast when there's someone there to settle everything, who can run a half-court set and can allow guys to play differently. It's all due to James Harden and the addition to what he provides from a professionalism level. And yeah, I mean, Matisse Thybulle is able to play better with him out there. And if this is what you can do more times than not, this will work. All I asked for was, if Matisse Thybulle can get you 3 cuts a game, so that's 6 to 8 points-ish. If that's what he gives you on top of stellar defense now, it can't be one of those nights where the Sixers get abused. And by the way, I thought the defense tonight by Joel was obviously noticeable. He was locked and loaded. There was the ankle tweak in the first quarter where he go, oh, no, don't do this to me. And then he left the game for a little bit of time. He returned, but he was nothing short of wow the rest of the way. Wow is right. Tristan Thompson. You're telling me Tristan Thompson looks at himself in the mirror and goes, I love my job. I love what I do. How about the foul when he thinks, hey, coach, I got it. You're a clown. You don't have it. And Joel puts teams into foul trouble. And we always talk about Doc's rotations, right? And I actually liked what Doc did today. Went to Shake Milton. And speaking of that first quarter, Shake Milton, I never even finished my point. Shake Milton ends up hitting a 3. He went to Isaiah Joe over Furkan Korkmaz. So we always bash Doc Rivers about the rotation. I like what he did tonight. And what does that mean moving forward? It's still somewhat of an experiment, and he's trying to push certain buttons to see exactly what is going to flow and what he loves best. But Joel Embiid will force teams to have to go 10 deep. 11 deep because you'll pick up 2 fouls in the first. And now your big man, somebody else. And now you got to go to your backup big. And you hate the matchup, but you have to do it because you already got 2 fouls early in the basketball game. That's the disaster if you're on the opposing sideline, if you're a head coach and you have to push certain buttons. That's the disaster that Joel Embiid brings. 43 points, 14 boards. Okay, he's got 3 blocks. He's got 2 steals. He did it all tonight. And that's why when he gives you 22 or 27 or a lower point scoring total on a random game on a Saturday night or on a Thursday night in the regular season, you go, Joel doesn't look right. Joel doesn't look like he's comfortable. Relax. Joel will be fine. I guarantee you, Joel will be fine. You can't just say, well, one game, oh, no. No, it's called being a human being. Giannis the other night in the second half wasn't anything that we're used to seeing Giannis do. But sometimes you just have a 3-game span that isn't 40 points. Joel will be okay. And you saw that. He looked locked in. And when Joel Embiid's locked in, good luck. It won't work. The other team, whatever you think your game plan is, it won't work. And that's exactly what we saw by the Sixers tonight. The Bulls, they're so fake. And the Sixers, by the way, I kept telling myself a couple different things because I know how this city reacts game by game and then takes it to a wild extreme. And one of my thoughts were, you beat the Bulls 10 straight times. Eventually, you're going to lose to the Bulls. I hate to break it to you, and I'm not building in an excuse, but at some point, you would think, we're going to lose to the Bulls. You don't beat a team every single time. Every time you play, you just always beat them. Always. No, at some point, it just won't be your night, and the other team might have their night. And then you tip your cap and you move on to the next one. And knowing the Sixers lost to the Heat on a second half of a back-to-back, and it wasn't the most beautiful basketball we've seen, I thought, uh-oh, here we go. You beat them 10 straight times. They do win regular season games, so it's not like they don't win regular season games. The Bulls do. Third game in your fourth night. You know, maybe they're due to a loss to Chicago. That's what I was thinking. Not that it was a built-in excuse, but I love that. You're making excuses, bros. They shouldn't have lost in Miami, or they shouldn't have sat James Harden. It never even crossed my mind that James Harden should have played in Miami. Like, it didn't even come to my brain that the Sixers were screwing this up, and there's no way in hell that they shouldn't have sat James Harden. Of course they should have. I don't give a damn about a Saturday night in March. You think that's what I care about? No, I care about them playing in the playoffs when we're talking about spring basketball with a healthy James Harden. Because a healthy James Harden gives you an offense like this. It gives Matisse Thybulle going from 0 points to double digits. It gets cuts to the basket, and he does his step back 3, pretends to shoot it. The defender bites, and then there's a wide open guy. And even when the ball did start swinging around the perimeter a bit, right? And Matisse Thybulle was wide open. It's hilarious to watch the defender drawn to the corner, and that was like the ball swinging around the perimeter, and the defender's literally saying, I'm going to skip this portion and go right to the corner, who I believe was Maxey at the time. And Matisse drilled it. Now, I don't anticipate him knocking down a lot of threes, but the cutting is real. The cutting and the moving off ball, I think, could be a sustainable style of offense for the Harden and the Thybulle. And then, of course, Harden and Niang. Those two are working and clicking on all cylinders like no other. Niang is balling right now, and I absolutely love it. And I already see the whole, you should start him and sit Tobias. You don't start role players and think over a 40-minute span it's going to be the same thing. Tobias has to be better. There's no doubt about it. This is not acceptable, and things need to improve out of Tobias Harris. But this is what people do. They fall in love with role players, and then they think you could put role players in higher minutes and give them a different role, and then they would be a same player, the same player with 40 minutes. That's not how it works. Niang right now with Harden, I love that. I love that mix. I love what you found right now between those two and between the rotations and the style of play you're getting. Let's just see where this goes right now instead of overreacting. There's a reason why we're looking at this as you got the back half of the season to play around with options, play around with opportunities, and see exactly what will flow best and what you end up liking by the end. You're still in the experiment mode. I'm okay with still being in the experiment mode. Let's see how it all shapes up from here. But I like the way that things are playing out between them, and they clearly figured something out at this point for sure. Thybulle did end up picking up his third personal foul with 4:41 to go in the second frame, and I don't know what I'm getting out of him at times with that effort. He comes around the screen. He's always doing things from behind defensively, tries to get a steal, ends up getting a reach-in call, and that ends up hurting him at times that he plays that way, but also when he plays that way, that is why he is Matisse Thybulle and causing the havoc that he does. But obviously there's a line, and I've been very vocal about his line. Sometimes I think he gets way too overboard. There's a way to play Matisse Thybulle defensive basketball without picking up those silly fouls at times, and I would have thought by now that maybe it would dwindle in a different direction where I'd be a little bit more comfortable about it. I never know what I'm getting out of him, but I'll always go back to this. They're winning basketball games. They're scoring 120-plus points, 125 points. They're getting the 130 points. They are dominating teams in scoring. And that's what it takes to win a championship. The fact that James Harden makes Thybulle better. The fact that Joel Embiid can give you 40-plus points. This was Harden being okay. But the fact that a James Harden okay game gives you 14 assists, and he's smooth with the offense, and he's finding guys wide open. And I honestly feel that we don't even give it justice until you go back and say, I'm going to study just James Harden. I want to just look at the game with a binocular set on James Harden and what he's providing with these passes. Go back and just look at the passes and what he does for this team. And it puts it into a different perspective. Even when they're showing highlights of them going to commercial break and they're playing the music. Dun, 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 dun. I love when I do that. I don't know why. Dun, 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 dun. And you see a replay in slow-mo, and here's Harden pump fake from three on the step back, and then he throws it over his head, and someone catches, maybe it's Niang wide open, and drills it, at Niang gives you one of those big faces of let's go! And the Wells Fargo Center goes nuts. That's what it's all about. So go back and study just James Harden, and I think it'll give you even a different layer of juice about what he's doing for this team and how everyone is able to get into a comfortable position on the floor, all based off of him. I would love for him to shoot better, but guess what? I think he feels the same way as well, and he knows that there's a different layer to him on that offensive side of the game, no doubt about it. I'm trying to see if there's anything going from the press conferences right now. Sixers Matisse Thybulle said, Joel is pretty impressive every night. I like when he dunks. Yeah, me too. His footwork is outrageous, right? When he's able to get down low and then he does what? 3 different footwork moves? Like he thinks, you think he's going one way, you bite, he goes another way, you bite again, and then he goes back to the original way, or there's somehow a third way to maneuver his body, then he gets to the rim. He had one play today where he was getting into the paint area. The pass was, 8 feet in front of him, but he somehow catches it and then puts it off the glass and in. Maxey had an acrobatic play as well where he was moving the full length of the court and he's flying at full speed. Couple nice dunks throughout from Thybulle and Tobias. So all around, they saw their opponent and said, screw you, you can't hang with us, and they put that on full display. Easy as can be. I see James Harden was running the steps after the game was over. Just a James Harden thing to do, I guess, for whatever that's worth. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this team. That's for sure. With that, we will open up the phone lines. 856-442-9805. That's the phone number if you want to hop on board and share your thoughts on what we just witnessed tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center. I just opened up the line, so it is clear for you to hop on board. In terms of Ben Simmons, I know that that's sort of a hot topic about Thursday and what's going to happen. I say this. Look. Is he just going to do it and get it out of the way and sit on the bench and think that no fans will criticize him later on as harshly because technically he showed up, they got all their emotions up? Now, every time he steps on this floor, it's going to be insane. But I'm starting to believe that maybe, see, originally I'm like, this is probably smart from his perspective. Put his shoes on your feet. Not that I would ever play the way that he played it. I would not fake mental health, pretend I had mental health just to get paid and mock how serious it is. I would never do that personally. But if somehow, some way, I was ever in that position, would I play the card that Ben Simmons is doing right now with, oh, show my face? If it happens. I don't even know if it will, but if it does happen, I get why he's doing it. But is he also taking this angle? And maybe Rich Paul and Clutch Sports drilled it in the back of his head. If you go, the media will see it. They'll see how mean they are to you. And then you can play the woe is me card. Look what I have to deal with. This is why I won't play here. This is what this mean, brutal city did to me. And I'll never forgive them. They're the problem, not me. Do you see? Do you see what I had to deal with? This is exactly why I wanted out. So let it run its course. Let them do what they're going to do because you know it's going to be disgusting. This is what Rich Paul is saying to Ben Simmons. Have it happen, and then you can play almost the victim card. Are they that smart to pull that off? I don't know. We'll find out. Right now, though, let's enjoy the Chicago Bulls victory, or the win over the Chicago Bulls, I should say. And let's take your phone calls. Let's bring in our first caller. Good evening. You're on Broads Media.
Bro, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. I mean, is it corny to say how much I love watching James Harden run this offense?
No, it's not at all. Because when you sit there and analyze what we've been through and what type of offenses we've had to see in the past, there was a time, a short time ago, where our point guard ran up the floor, stopped, gave the ball to a Shake Milton or somebody else, and then did nothing. That's what we watched for a long time, actually, in the postseason. So to sit here with a big smile on your face, I can easily accept the fact that you're this happy about it.
I mean, when I'm watching James Harden, there's such a calmness to him where when the game gets a little bit, they go on a run, he's going to come in, put people in position, and I just you can't stop it. He's going to go off of a pick. He's going to throw it behind the back pass to Embiid. He's going to hit the corner three. It's going to be sacrilegious of me to say this, but it kind of reminds me of Tom Brady, if I was a supporter of them, we have a chance every time with this guy coming down as our point guard to run this offense the way it should be run.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you bring up just the professionalism of how he's doing it, but it comes down to he reads the defense so well. He's so poised. He's patient. He sees the play developing, and if option number one isn't there, he knows what his option two is. He's prepared on each play. Of course, there's going to be turnovers here and there and some hiccups along the way, but I love when he comes around the screen at the top of the three-point line, and then you know that he's waiting for that next move to then dictate what he's going to do. He just sees it at such a high level. He's such a smart player.
Yeah, and those passes he makes, his chest is out. He just does that quick bounce pass to Matisse Thybulle for an easy dunk. I'm like, how the heck did he get that bounce pass right in the middle of the lane? And this guy has vision, man. And I'm just enjoying this so much, and I'm just counting down to the playoffs, and I can't wait to see what this team's going to do.
I agree, man. Thanks so much. Great phone call. I'm the same exact way. And, there was a narrative that this guy's a selfish player. All he worries about is himself. He's just a guy who wants to dribble and isolate and take step-back threes. I've seen good step-back threes. There was some nice ones in this game. The one specifically, there's one that stood out to me, I should say, in that first quarter where they went on that push. And that definitely separated the Sixers from Chicago for the rest of the night. And that was amazing. So there's times when a shot clock is expiring and maybe the defense does have the nice possession. I'm saying the other team's defense does a good job at stopping you at what you want to run. So what's the alternative? We need one of our best players to go get a bucket. We need them to break down a defender, get a good shot, create separation, and let the basketball fly. There's times where you, out of desperation, need to ask your best player, do something for me. But that's how this league works. And the fact that you have multiple players that can do it at this point, whether it's Joel Embiid, whether it's James Harden, whether it's Tyrese Maxey, or you've seen James Harden at this point do that for someone else, get that look for someone else, where a couple seconds left on the shot clock. He does dribble, he drives, but the dribble penetration brings a defender over, brings some help D over. So what's he do? He kicks it out to a Niang. So maybe it's just not him desperately doing it on his own, but he finds somebody else for a wide open look. It's what James Harden does. He does it so smoothly. And you're going to need that. Kevin Durant does that at times. Kyrie Irving does that. LeBron James does that at times. Not every half-court set is going to be amazing. But do you have the players that can bail you out when you need to throughout a game? Because it's going to happen. A nice chunk of times, too, because when you're playing a defense in the playoffs, these defenses know what they're doing. When you get to the second round, and now you're playing the teams that are more like Boston or Milwaukee or Miami, these teams can hang, and they can definitely make it tough for you. Can James Harden do it then? Can Joel Embiid do it then? Can Tyrese Maxey do it then? We're going to find out. I think they have a good percentage of doing it. We're going to find out, though. Can they counter Eric Spoelstra? We'll see. I heard that Tim Legler, when analyzing the Celtics, think that they're a good regular season team, but they're going to have a difficult time of producing the way that they are right now in the postseason. And I like Legs. I think he does a fantastic job. He's not as high on the Celtics as maybe some are right now with their most recent burst. I thought that was fascinating when I heard that. What else is fascinating are you guys out there? Back to the phones we go. Amadeo, what's happening?
Man, I know I'm going to complain about Philadelphia sports fans, but at the end of the day, it's also the Philadelphia sports fans' MO to overreact when Joel Embiid has a couple of off nights where he is human. But he's proven to us multiple times this year where he has an off night, he's going to dominate the next night. How many times has he done this year? I've lost count.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on another level, of course. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of the Joel Embiid we've seen when James Harden wasn't here yet. And I say that in a positive because people were wondering, well, is he going to not have the same numbers? And quite frankly, I don't care about the MVP personal accolade, but I know fans were wondering, can he still win it if Joel Embiid is now losing some shots or losing some points due to James Harden? And my response would be, I don't give a fuck how many points he scores as long as the team is winning. And right now, as a team, as a unit, it doesn't matter who's scoring the points, where it's coming from. They're putting up 125 as a team. They're putting up 130 as a team. And Joel, the fact that he was able to look like Joel without James Harden says that even when James Harden is here, he can still do it. And I do value that. But at the end of the day, all that matters is this team is scoring at such a lethal rate. Who's going to stop them?
Exactly. Like MVP, it'll be nice if Joel Embiid eventually does win the MVP, if that's going to happen. But with the way him, Harden, and Maxey have the chemistry, even Maxey had a quiet start to this game, but then he showed his electricity throughout the third and the fourth quarter. The way these three are developing chemistry, I can't wait to see that on the back stretch of the season on how that's going to develop getting into the postseason.
Absolutely. And thanks, Amadeo. I think they're going to roll. They're going to be just in rhythm. You can't leave out guys like a George Niang because him and Harden right now are playing well. I don't know what this Thybulle thing's going to be. I think there's something there, though, with the cutting. Now, the possessions are significantly different and they're played out differently. The defensive intensity in a regular season game compared to a very slowed down style of offense that you see in playoffs. Can you still get these same cuts? Can you get the same off-ball movement? Can you find Matisse Thybulle that wide open underneath the basket in a dunker spot, cutting off the ball? Can he drill his wide open shot? I don't know the answer to that. I do feel, though, that there can possibly be something to this off-ball movement, but I do wonder when everything is slowed down even more and it's multiplied by 8 how slowed down it is, because these possessions, they just get different. Every possession is magnified. Every single possession has so much more grit and toughness involved. Will it be the same way? I don't know, but I do believe that there's something in there that can possibly work with Thybulle. And if not, then you maybe move around and try something else. Although this Danny Green news about the middle finger, I don't know our latest update. He did not return to the game, obviously, but that's another body lost. And you can say what you want about not liking Danny Green and him not performing, although him not performing at a high enough clip is still above league average from three. There were times, obviously, in his career that he would shoot over 40% from three. Right now, he's shooting about 37, and it feels like he's shooting 22, to be honest with you, but it's still 37. He's still a veteran body that you're going to need. I don't know his latest update, but yeah, it does cause concern for me if this is something that will limit him from buying us time compared to an Isaiah Joe or a Shake Milton. When that's your alternative, give me Danny Green any day of the week just based off of him being in those moments before and buying you time, keeping your head above water style of moments and giving you that spacing. I am a little bit concerned about that because if the middle finger is something that limits him for real, like legitimately, well, yeah, that can cause problems considering this bench is already as thin as it is. Kyle in Connecticut, you're on Broads Media. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Not much. What's going on with you?
So I'm having trouble with something. I'm hoping you could help me out with it.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out which one I'm more excited about: seeing the Sixers sweep the Bulls for the series, or not seeing Furkan Korkmaz tonight.
Ooh, wow, those are both great. I think. Yeah, I actually think it's Furkan because while sweeping the Chicago Bulls is awesome, they're not as great as their record says they are. They just have what they have is they have gritty veteran guy in DeMar DeRozan, who's a nice, fine player, but he's nothing. They have a ceiling, basically, is my point of, sure, they can win regular season games, but they definitely have a cap on what they can do. And they're a nice team, but Furkan not playing is more important to this team long-term than the Sixers beating up on a squad that has a ceiling, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go with Furkan Korkmaz not playing any minutes. Although I have to say, I don't know how much Isaiah Joe can give you. It's better than Furkan, but is it really enough?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Furkan is Furk, but Isaiah Joe, I mean, it's just a matter of who exactly are we going to slot in. But on a more serious note, great bounce back game for Joel. I mean, like the previous caller said, obviously that wasn't Joel what we saw in Miami. The 43 and 14 is a little bit more of what we can expect at this point. Niang has proven to be still a great spark since Harden got here. I think Harden's really starting to unlock him, along with Maxey, as I mentioned on an earlier podcast. I forget the one. And yeah, just a great win. I'm excited for Brooklyn, even for Denver next week. Finally getting to see the Embiid and Jokic matchup we've been waiting for about 2.5 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I looked at the schedule the other day on stream, and I think what I would do is I'd probably sit Joel Embiid against Orlando because there's a lot of big games coming up. And look, in the second half of a back-to-back in Miami, he did look a little sluggish, and he did look a bit defeated and deflated. And I know tonight he had a big burst of energy, but he's played a lot of basketball this year. And if you sit him down against Orlando, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Now, he's different this year compared to in years past. He definitely has a different mentality, and he doesn't take rest the same way that he used to. So I don't even know if he's up in conversation for it and if he's willing to have that dialogue. But me personally, if I'm looking at it, I wouldn't be against having him sit, or I don't know what James Harden's availability is going to be for his scheduled rest throughout the next couple of weeks or whatnot. But I wouldn't be opposed to saying, hey, big fella, don't worry about it tonight.
No, I agree. I actually haven't thought about that until you brought that up. But when you weigh the options, I think having a real nice matchup against Jokic would be the better game. But like you said, Embiid's a little bit different. He might not be open to that dialogue, but yeah, it might be the smartest thing to do. I mean, it has been a couple months since his last rest game. So yeah, that's a great insight you had right there.
Oh, thank you very much, Kyle. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night. Good insight, huh? You just don't get that enough these days. It's always, Broads, you're an idiot. Broads, you're an absolute jerk-off. Broads, your hair looks ridiculous, although those people just don't have good style. I can't help you there. I don't have anything for you. If you don't realize the man bun and the headband is what it's all about, then I just can't help you out there. It's always, Broads, you're stupid. Broads, you're a moron. It's always that. It's not enough Kyle. It's not enough Kyle from Connecticut. It's not that's a fascinating, fantastic point you brought there. Thank you. Thank you. But in all seriousness, with James Harden, do you see it now? Do you understand and fully see why there were so many of us that said, you don't give up Ben Simmons for a Colin Sexton? Do you know how many people I had to say shut up to who wanted to trade Ben Simmons for Buddy Hield? Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield blows. Buddy Hield is not good. You don't watch him enough. 1 for 10, 1 for 8, 2 for 7. And the same people. Seth Curry's amazing. Yeah, he put up 6 shots the other night. 6. Why? Because when he first got there, there was no Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Then Kyrie and Kevin Durant come on the floor, and they're taking all the shots. And Seth Curry gives you barely any shots. Seth Curry will give them a night, and he'll have a nice night. But if you watch the game against Boston, you saw that he was getting exposed, and it wasn't the same. Where was all that reaction that we saw to Andre Drummond and Seth Curry when the Brooklyn Nets didn't have their players who were going to take all the shots even on the floor? Overpay. Do you see the difference? The fact that there were individuals out there that really thought the 76ers overpaid for this. This is a beautiful work of art, what this team can produce on the offensive side of the floor. And this is being done with very limited play. Tobias has been miserable. Matisse Thybulle is a one-dimensional player that James Harden is pulling something totally different and a whole new level of style of play out of him based off of James Harden's skill set. Do you see why I put so much emphasis on superstar talent, on domination, on elite play, on the players on the floor and what they're capable of doing and how they change franchises? Because James Harden now has the ability to just change Matisse Thybulle, to change George Niang. Himself being plugged on this team is changing everybody else. Do you see how that works? What's this team look like with Buddy Hield going 1 for 10 from 3? Let me know. I'll tell you for free. The team stinks. The team absolutely stinks. Let's go to Nolan in Hilltown, PA.
Hey, Bros, what's happening, man? Great win for the Sixers tonight. They definitely needed that bounce-back win after that stinker that they had down in South Beach. Just another day at the office for the MVP, Joel Embiid, 43 and 14. Unbelievable stuff. Let's go Sixers. Love the content, man. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I'm loving when Joel Embiid has this type of determination. The way that he just played with his whole entire repertoire was on display. He seemed to get the ball a little bit easier in spots that he would like to demand it. And from there, his footwork was elite. His ability to dominate anyone who came into his way. He draw a foul. He put the other team in foul trouble. I thought the footwork, though, really definitely stood out to me compared to, some other games. Not that he has bad footwork in other games, but you could see when he was underneath the basket and he established his post presence, his ability to spin around and keep his 1 foot planted, and he would juke out defenders and they would get lost, and then he'd get them up off of their feet. And when they got up off their feet, he would go up, he would get fouled, it would be an and one, or he would just go to the line for 2 free throws. And that's what Joel Embiid was doing. He was confusing everyone out there. Tristan Thompson has to hate his life. There's no doubt about it. He probably left the arena, went somewhere, cheated on Khloe Kardashian again, got caught on Snapchat, and then is now living an even worse life because of that. After getting abused by Joel Embiid on the basketball floor, probably doing some things, probably shutting on the outside world and getting himself in some trouble. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, nobody can stop this man. Name me a player who can stop this man. And if he's going to give you that type of downhill play and that type of versatility, there's no way in hell that you are going to be able to take him down. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. 43. Do you know how hard it is to score 43? And you know what I put up today on Broads Media after the game was over? I put up the Instagram post. I put up the caption. I put up the tweet as well, I should say. Another day at the office for Joel Embiid. Because that's what we just expect nowadays. Ooh, he only had 20 plus. Ooh, he only had 27. What's wrong with Joel? He doesn't look right. He doesn't look right. It's now his 20-point performances. Off. Ooh, looks a little frustrated. Body a bit fatigued. And say what you will about Thursday, and if they try and pretend like it's not going to be anything monstrous for them emotionally, they're lying. It's not real. Their thoughts, or their words, when they say that, that's not what they're really thinking. That's not their real thoughts. It's them just trying to downplay it. Just like James Harden in his first game in Philadelphia. Oh, it's a big deal. It wasn't just another day. It was a big deal. All right, let's see if we see any quotes from Joel after the game. I'm seeing Chattanooga highlights, though, from the buzzer beater. Embiid gave props to Jokic. Called him a monster. Love when guys aren't haters. Tyrone said that he loved when guys aren't haters. I don't think that Embiid said that. Yeah, no, Embiid did not say that. If I don't feel good physically, I'm probably going to take a game or a few games off, said Joel Embiid. All right, so that ties perfectly together with what I was stating about where they are with Orlando, and when you think about their schedule coming up. If Joel Embiid doesn't feel like he's 100 and they know they're playing a team that stinks and they can maybe walk by, look, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. If you're an old school guy saying, these guys got to play every night. No, they don't. You sit, you rest. You don't have to play all 82. 82 games is way too much. A game against the Orlando Magic won't change how I feel about this team. Well, you need the first seed. No, you don't. You had the first seed last year and you absolutely blew it because your team wasn't able to perfectly play due to the fact that someone wasn't willing to shoot a basketball. But my point is, you could win regular season games and not have the right style of play to actually perform in the playoff. Getting the first seed because you win a lot of regular season games doesn't mean that you're good. All right, it doesn't mean that. The Chicago Bulls are not very good, but they're winning a lot of regular season games. The Cavs, they're trending in the right direction, and they're a fun, exciting team due to Garland, and I think he will be a special talent that will definitely blossom in this league. But as of right now, I don't care about you have to get the one seed. No, you don't. You don't have to. Top 3 seed, yes. I think you want to be in that 3. If that's the range you're in, you're in the 3 range. Fine. This team wins on the road, by the way. It's not in years past where they struggled to do that. They actually have a tougher time winning at home this season compared to what we've seen in the past where they've literally annihilated teams like no other at home and couldn't find a damn way to win when they were away from Wells Fargo Center. I'd rather see Joel Embiid healthy and take a night off against Orlando. And same with James Harden. If James Harden doesn't play another night because it's a scheduled rest day, like I stated earlier, it didn't even cross my mind for a half a second that they rested him against Miami. Apparently, there was a minority group of people, though, that were outraged. What is this team doing? How are you supposed to learn how to play? Listen, they haven't lost a game yet when they've played together. Are there kinks to iron out? Absolutely. Is the Orlando Magic the team was like, hey, you got to play against Orlando one game because that's going to change it all? No, that's foolish. It's an old mindset. It's an old school mindset. It's the old people. That's what it is. It's the old people. But yeah, that's what we got from Joel Embiid tonight as he's speaking about. Yeah, I find it weird, though. Why is he talking about Jokic? Now, I don't know what the media members asked him or what they were referencing to. Obviously, they do have a game coming up soon against the Denver Nuggets, and I'm sure someone mentioned that or whatnot. But after tonight, when they have a game against Brooklyn, Jokic being brought up, I don't know. I think that there's probably a couple more things that I would discuss, although maybe those questions were already asked, and this is more just added bonus, if you will, I guess. I don't know. Back to the phones we go, though. Hello, you are on Broads Media.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
What's happening, man?
Long time, man?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. I just want to talk about, like, James Harden is such a smart player. Like, that's something, like, that I did not realize until he got here. Like, I mean, obviously you see that he's a great offensive player and everything, but just to see how smart of a player that he is and how well he gets other players involved. I mean, to see Matisse Thybulle doing these things, I mean, this just wasn't happening before. So
no, I absolutely agree with you. The way that I see it is when you watch someone every night, every dribble, 82 games when they're on your team, you see it completely different than when you watch the Houston Rockets 6 games a year or 4 games a year on TNT when it's a national broadcast game, or you see highlights on SportsCenter. You go, wow, that's awesome. But it's so much different when, one, you compare it to what you had, and what you had was a complete disaster at the point guard position. And then, two, when you watch a player that's why the fans who wanted Buddy Hield, you don't watch Buddy Hield enough to say that he's actually garbage. Like, he's not very good. And you would see that when he's here. Those people would be the same people to complain when he's going 1 for 9 from 3 and just jacking up nonsense. So you're absolutely right. When you study a player like Harden the way that we get to so far, it just puts it in a whole nother level.
Right. I just have one more question, though, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like I guess a hard question. I guess no one wants to ask, right? But if Tobias Harris doesn't kind of find himself in this offense, if he doesn't improve, can we still win?
That's a great question, and thank you so much for all the support to this point, and then for calling in as well. Yes. Yes, I do. I do think that they can still win because you think on your toes, you do different things, you make certain decisions where maybe Tobias Harris, right now, we write him in at 37 minutes. Maybe he only plays 25 and Niang plays more minutes and he's drilling threes. Yes, I do think that that can happen. If you realize through the postseason, nothing has changed. This guy's going 3 for 10, 3 for 12. He's hurting you out there. If you're Doc Rivers and you utilize your other weapons that are succeeding and you don't worry about the amount of money he's getting paid and you can plug other players in that are playing a little bit better. Yes. And honestly, think about it right now. They're winning a bunch of games now and they're still not having Tobias Harris play very well. Now, to be fair, postseason's a different beast. And I don't know if you can get away with it as easy as you are right now because the opponents are more talented. But there's players on the other side. When you look at the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum goes off, Jaylen Brown goes off. There's going to be a starter that gets 10 points. There's going to be a starter that gets 8 points. If Tobias was playing this way, but made $7 million, we don't have the same type of reaction. He's just a guy who eats up minutes while everybody else is doing their thing. And then you project Joel to give you 40, Harden to give you 20, right? Tyrese Maxey to give you 17. Now, you can't ask Matisse Thybulle to give you 12 every single night, that's for sure. But maybe it's distributed differently where 4 of those points go to Toby. He finishes more along the lines of a 12-point night. And then Matisse maybe gets an 8-point night, and it's distributed differently, but you still get the same amount of points out of the two of those guys where, yeah, I still think you can because you win with superstars. When Giannis gives you 50 and Middleton gives you 40, why did you win? Why did you win? Because those guys dominated the game and took over and went shot for shot with somebody else on the other team and won that one-on-one matchup throughout the backstretch of the fourth quarter with a handful of minutes to go and said, give me the damn basketball. Let's say it's a one-possession game with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and you're in a playoff situation, right? And Harden and Embiid are going back and forth, scoring with whoever's scoring on the other side. Tatum gets a bucket, and Embiid gets a bucket. Tatum gets a bucket, Harden gets a bucket. Brown gets a bucket, Harden gets a bucket. That's what it's going to come down to. Now, of course, there's going to be a moment for a player, someone else to step up. Michael Jordan even had that. Steve Kerr hits a shot, right? There's always going to be those moments implemented throughout. No doubt about it. But to answer your question, can they still win with a mediocre or very average Tobias Harris? I think that's how much firepower they have within the other 3 players, that my answer is still yes. Yes, I do. $10 donation from Abs in the chat. Just a quick question, Broads. Do you think Paul Millsap should play power forward small? No. I think he should because he's been playing that position. No. I don't think Paul Millsap deserves to play at all. At all. What I would do is I'd have your starting 5 right now. I'd have Danny Green, George Niang, DeAndre Jordan, and then Shake Milton as your 9. I prefer, especially as some of these playoffs, as these playoff series goes deeper, and you look at your rotation, I think as you get into game 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm even going 8. I'm scrapping the 9. But knowing the history of Doc Rivers, and I even did some research a little bit over the weekend because we had this discussion on The Fanatic, and I thought it was fascinating looking at what the Milwaukee Bucks did, what the Brooklyn Nets did, what the Phoenix Sun did with some of their rotations throughout the postseason. 8 deep, 9 deep. Well, here's Doc Rivers going double digits on you, throwing you 10, throwing you 11. That's a recipe for disaster. There's no room for Paul Millsap to play. I'm giving you the starting 5 that we have been used to seeing since they've made the trade. I'm giving you Danny Green, George Niang, DeAndre Jordan, and Shake Milton. That is my 9, and that's what I'm doing. That's me personally on what I'm doing. I don't give Paul Millsap any sort of run. There's no room for him. Your starters will be playing a lot of time. They should be logging in close to 40 minutes. There's no time to distribute the other players into the mix. That's not how I would do it at all. But thank you for the $10 donation. I greatly appreciate the support, man. You're always chopping it up with us in the chat and showing some emotions and having some fun in here, so I appreciate it. But no, to answer your question, no. I want Embiid out there so he can give you 19 in the third quarter. I want Embiid out there so he can show you the defense that he can provide. And by the way, I want him out there for 38, 39 minutes. And then DeAndre Jordan, can he give you a little something? Maybe. He tried the one alley-oop, didn't work. He hit a couple free throws. I almost fell over in my chair. I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting in front of my fireplace. I have this whole Xbox set up. I've been playing MLB The Show lately. I got my Xbox set up. I got my chair. I got the fireplace. So I kind of sat back and kicked back in there just because it was kind of cold in the basement today for some reason. Anyway, I had the game on. I almost fell over. I almost collapsed on me when I saw DeAndre Jordan hit a couple free throws. I'll tell you what, though. Here's a problem that I think will definitely cause issues for legitimate run. Their rebounding's bad. And sometimes it's just a lack of effort, which bothers me the most. But I saw Tobias Harris get annihilated on the defense, on the Sixers defensive side of the glass. It results in a Chicago offensive rebound. That type of stuff needs to change. And I don't know if it will anymore. At this point, it seems kind of this is what we have in the rebounding department. It's not smooth enough at all. $5 from Recon. Hello, Recon. Just went to the game tonight, bros. It was electric. I'm so happy we're done with the bum Simmons experience. We finally have a point guard. We're not done yet because he'll be showing his face allegedly on Thursday. So the whole Ben Simmons thing ain't going anywhere. But yes, in terms of him dribbling the basketball on the floor for the 76ers, never again, and he's an absolute loser and a fraud. I'm sure that building was so sensational to be there, and I got to experience it when they played the Knicks, and it was the first game for James Harden, and it felt like a playoff atmosphere. And if you have the opportunity to go, you might as well utilize the SeatGeek promo code BROADS for $20 off of your purchase. It's a no-brainer. Get yourself to a game today. You're basically getting free parking, and I'm right here for you, BROADS, promo code BROADS at SeatGeek checkout. But yeah, absolutely. Get to Thursday's game. Get to some of these games that are coming up on the schedule. Get to see what that environment is like, because as Recon says here, it is absolutely tremendous to see it for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, Tobias is 6'8", but you can't forget that there's other big players out there, too. It's not like he's a 6'8" man playing with guys that are 5'11". He struggles to rebound, though. For sure. For sure. All right, back to the phones.
Yo, Joel Embiid's going to need like a financial advisor or some shit, because he's going to have to call up Aaron Rodgers about getting part-time ownership of the fucking city of Chicago, because goddamn, that undefeated streak is going to be pissing those Chicago fans off. I mean, shit.
That's amazing. Honestly, I have no idea what Chicago fans are thinking. Do they believe in this for real? If I remember correctly, I think there was a caller who called in a couple weeks ago to the Anytime Hotline when we were live post-game, and it was brought up of, hey, I'm a Chicago fan, and we were talking about it, but I don't remember his full-on thought of it all. So, terrible story by me. Awful to even explain that, because apparently I don't even remember what was stated at the time. So I'm a horrible human being. But anyway, I digress. There's no way that you can sit there and watch the Chicago Bulls play and think they're good. Oh, this team's good. How? DeMar DeRozan's a nice complimentary piece. But I would think, if you're thinking about a legitimate championship, if you plugged in DeMar DeRozan instead of Maxey, let's say, in a very hypothetical world, that would be an awesome fit for DeMar. That would be incredible. You got Embiid, you got Harden, and then you got a nice DeMar DeRozan, veteran player, been around the block, experienced, he's got some savviness to him, good mid-range game, third player. He could fit that Drew Holiday role. You got a nice player in Giannis, baby, right? If you're thinking about the Bucks, you got a great player in Giannis. I said nice player, an MVP caliber player. You got Chris Middleton. Then you got Drew Holiday. I see a DeMar DeRozan fitting a good championship team in a Drew Holiday role, in a Tyrese Maxey role, that third style of play. You can't have Zach LaVine and have Tristan Thompson with DeMar DeRozan and think that there's an actual chance to win a trophy. I'm sorry. There's no way that anyone could really buy into that, right? You got to be smoking a lot of crack. Speaking of Chicago, Vince with $5 chimes in. I'm in Chicago. My friends are crazy for the Bulls. Honestly, they are delusional. The Sixers sweeping is a dream come true. I don't know if it's a dream come true. I never sat here and go, man, they better sweep the Chicago Bulls this year. And if they do, I'm going to go crazy and go streaking down Broad Street, right? I don't think I've ever cared in a billion years about regular season play that much. I watch every night. I analyze every night. But in terms of dream coming true for any sort of regular season game, there's a handful handful of games a year that gets put on a different pedestal than everyone else. Miami, just unfortunately, all these games keep coming on the second half of a back-to-back, which is screwing up everything, and it's hard to take anything out of it. The Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks. Other than that, even the Bulls. It's a fun game. Is it a hoo-hoo-hoo type of game? No. The game before the break where you're in Milwaukee, that's a, oh, damn. That's an oh, damn. The Bulls, you're giving them too much respect to say that it's a dream come true, Vince. You're saying that they're better than what I'm saying if you believe that sweeping the Chicago Bulls is a dream come true. They're not that good. They're in the level of, they win regular season games, but they're not a real threat. Every team right now that is fighting for the playoffs say the same thing. I would love to play Cleveland, and I would love to play Chicago. You know what they're saying? I don't want to see 76ers. I don't want to see the Boston Celtics. I don't want to see the Miami Heat. I don't want to see the Milwaukee Bucks. They say, I want to see Chicago. I want to see Cleveland. And there's a reason why that is happening. Ooh, okay, we got a text message from Dan in Chicago. Hello, Dan from Chicago. Thybulle scored more points than Harris. LOL, LOL, LOL. By the way, it's my birthday today. Awesome win. Well, happy birthday, Dan. I guess you're not a Chicago fan. When I first saw that, I thought maybe you were going to put your 2 cents in on how the fan base is feeling in the pulse of the Chicago Bulls. But yes, he did. He did. And that was all based off the fact that you had James Harden settle everything in and have him that way. Like his ability to pass and his ability to see the floor was what allowed Matisse Thybulle to play the way that he did. And I'll give Matisse Thybulle credit. He shut me up tonight. I've been very harsh on him saying his offense is problematic. And one game, just like a loss against Miami, won't change my opinion. Just like a loss in a regular season in one game won't change how I feel. Right now, I'm not changing fully how I could feel. I've been consistent on this. He stinks offensively. I still feel that way. But one, can the scoring of the other players who are stars make it not much of a hole? And can you maybe pull more out of him off ball because of the skill sets of your point guard? And I think the answer is possibly. But I still have my fear, and that doesn't make me a hater. I'm just objectively analyzing the strategic part of the game and the X's and the O's of it. And I wonder, when you're playing Milwaukee in 7 games and the defense is different and the possessions are more intense and the game is even more slowed down, will the off-ball cuts be as efficient? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm asking the question, though. Just like I'm asking the question, can Tobias Harris be better? Right now, it is tough to watch him play the game. He looks frustrated. He's getting good looks. He's not making those looks. He's hesitant. He's thinking too much. Time to turn it around. Yes. I just need Toby at this point. I was thinking about this during the game. I just need him to be average. Screw the money conversation. We just need Tobias Harris to give us an efficient 15. If he gives you an efficient 15 points while the other guys do their job, that's really all you need from him right now. You don't have to hold him to the standard of what max contracts give you. Well, normal max contracts give you 43, or they give you 36, or they knock down 25 points. It would be great if that was the case, but it ain't the case. I just can't have 2 of 10. I can't have 3 of 10. I need an efficient 15, an efficient 16. That's what I need. You want to talk about trading him in the offseason, this and that? I'm here for that. Yes. I'm not tied to Tobias Harris because I think he's better than a lot of what fans give him credit for, even though right now he's not executing enough for my liking. Both can be true. I think he's better than this, and he's not playing well right now. That's where I stand. He's not great. And if I can move on from that contract like I think Daryl Morey is going to do, I'm here for it. But I can't change that as we think about this pursuit that's about to occur for a playoff run. Right now, this is what we have. So what do we discuss right now with what we have? Can Tobias Harris give you an efficient 15, 16 points, couple assists, 3 assists or so, and camp out in the corner and catch and shoot? Last year, he hit 37% of his threes in the playoffs. Gave you 22 points. I don't expect 22 points. Can I get 37% from 3? I sure hope so. $5 from Take That. Is it possible Ben is not playing because he's trying to recoup the money that he lost in fines? So he has to keep up the mental health BS even with the Nets? I think that's part of it. I also think the fact that he wasn't ready to play. He did not keep up with his body. He was not working out. He wasn't working out the proper way. He wasn't keeping up in shape. So whenever he did get moved or whenever his next time on the floor was going to happen, he did not prepare his body to play basketball at an MVP level. Sorry, I'm so used to saying that with Joel Embiid that just somehow vomited out of my mouth when speaking about Ben Simmons, which would never happen. And now I just feel so disgusted. I think I need to take a shower because really, did I honestly just say that? Did I honestly just put MVP conversation in Ben Simmons? I mean, come on, what am I doing here? How did that even just happen? I feel so gross. But anyway, with Ben Simmons, I think part of it is the visual and the public perception. I think part of that is he's just not physically ready to play. And then the other side is he was never going to play in Philadelphia on March 10th. And it was always in his mindset of, I'll play later on and I'll push this back as much as possible. So is that a part of it? Yeah, I think this is a multi-layered type of conversation for sure. And this goes deeper than that. This goes 5, 6, 7 steps deep in the methodical thinking of not even Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons isn't sharp enough to figure this out because he's brainwashed. He was grown up as the prince, and he was always held to a certain standard, and his family babied him, and he's not self-aware. I don't think he's even self-aware. It's just Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, and everybody else trying to play this certain card. I touched on this during Coffee with Broads. I just can't stand the fact that when we sit and listen to something on Twitter, I don't know why you're sitting. You could be standing in that circumstance, of course. But whenever you turn on Twitter and you end up hearing Shams report something about Ben Simmons, the third-time All-Star, the 3-year All-Star, the star, net star, Ben Simmons. No. Why do we have to do that? Nets 3-time All-Star, Ben Simmons. Shut up. I can't stand Shams. He's a loser. Fraud. Matisse and Toby must combine for 24 a game. Keep it up, Rhodes. 24 a game? I don't think they must. All capitals must. I still think they could win even without that. If that's what they give you, though, that's awesome. But see, I can't trust Matisse Thybulle giving you much more than 6 points in a basketball game. If I'm being honest, what does he actually average? Does he average around 8? I feel like he averages around 8. But that's going to change in the playoffs. If Matisse averages 8 in a regular season, I don't anticipate him getting 8 in the play. No, see, 8's way too high. Shame on me. Jesus, I'm way off. He averages 5.6. He averages 5.6, 8 points. What the hell is I'm delusional. I'm going off the rails right now. Who the hell am I thinking of that averages 8 points per game? Let me go to Shake Milton. What does Shake Milton average? 9.3. Okay. I was going to say, there was someone I looked up recently, and I'm thinking, all right, am I thinking of Shake? Am I thinking of somebody else? And I was thinking of Shake Milton when I said that, who averages 9 points per game this season, although he missed a lot of time due to the back injury. If you average 5.6 in the regular season, you're probably not averaging much more than that in the play. Unless James Harden changes that so much. Unless the threat of Joel Embiid and having to double team him and disregarding Matisse Thybulle so much that the spacing on the floor of now bringing more secondary help towards somebody else, whether that's your guard or Maxey or Embiid, because they're going to cheat a little for help defense, there's more room to operate to cut. Will that give him the opportunity that he didn't have in years past? This is all new. And there's only been a handful of games of Thybulle with Harden. Does the combination of Thybulle and Harden give you more than 5.6 points per game? I think it's very fair to say yes. This is obviously utilizing a lot of information without those two. This data isn't enough of a sample size with the two playing together. So once again, I'm just trying to pull back the layers here and see exactly what it is. But anyway, that's my thoughts on today's game. I appreciate everyone who hung out with me today. Oh, we got $5 more coming in from Abs. Hey, Broads, do you think we should trade Danny Green and bring back Rob Covington? It's irrelevant because that's not possible. And no, I don't like Robert Covington, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of Robert Covington. But it doesn't matter because you can't do that anyway. So it really is irrelevant to what this team is. I appreciate the $5 donation, though. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who hung out tonight. I appreciate the phone calls. And we have, what do we have? We have the game on Thursday. That's the next time they play. So we have no game Tuesday, no game Wednesday, and then they play Thursday. So obviously, as always, we're going to keep the conversation going and have some fun dialogue about this team still as the week moves forward. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, SeatGeek promo code Broads, TikTok at Broads Media. And with that being said, everyone, thank you so much, and I will see you later on.